Thank you for joining me for our fourth and final installment of our Canning Basics series. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. Today, we're getting to some troubleshooting on what we might need to do related to our home canned products. So throughout the series, we have talked about the time-honored way of home canning, preserving our food to make sure we have safe results, to kind of understand the science of what's going on, finding out what approved methods are, and then following those tested procedures. Those are the key pieces that we want as takeaways from this series. Now, the information I'm sharing is just a basic introduction, very, very basic. It's all research-based information taken from our New Mexico State University Master Food Preservers course, which is obviously a very long and intensive course to learn how to do everything. So these are just the key pieces to help you get started understanding the terms, maybe what you need to be looking for, and understanding about equipment, the things that you need to check so that you can safely process and store canned items at home. Knowing what can go wrong is just as important as knowing what can go right. So for this final section, we're going to identify what some of the unsafe practices are. So the things that maybe you've seen on TikTok or on YouTube, and understanding why that's not okay. And then how do you recognize that it's spoiled food? And then maybe troubleshoot a few of the common issues. That these are very basic overview type things, that introductory piece to just kind of get you started. So the first thing you're going to want to do, and we talked last time about how we're going to cool our jars and we're going to make sure they're ready so that we can store them. So in between that cooling and storing piece, we want to test the seal. So as they cool, the food's going to contract and it's going to pull that lid down and make that vacuum seal on the cap. And we talked about the appropriate lids and what you use and what you don't use in order to do that, so that it's got that tight vacuum seal. That lid's going to depress. And so a lot of times you'll hear them pop when they really start to seal. You'll know that that's working. And then after the cooling for the 12 to 24 hours, we want to test it and ensure that they're sealed and that they're all sealed. Okay, because we may have some seal and one that doesn't. Well, if we store that one that doesn't and pull it out later, it's probably going to be spoiled and not be safe to eat. And we don't want that. So to make sure that you have a safe seal, you're going to press the middle of the lid with your finger or your thumb. It should not bend. There shouldn't be any give to it. So you can tap the lid with the bottom of a teaspoon, so a metal spoon, and the lid should make a high-pitched ring when it's tapped with that spoon. Hold the jar at eye level. Look across that lid. It should have a little down curve to it, just slightly concave in the center, where it's kind of sucked it all down, and make sure that it's tight around the edges and pulled down in the middle. If it doesn't have those things, if when you touch the lid, it springs back up when you let your finger off, it's not sealed, okay? It's not safe. If it makes a dull sound when you tap it with that spoon, it's not sealed, it's not safe. And if the center of the lid is completely flat or bulging up, it's not sealed and it's not going to be safe. So we want to make sure and take precautions for that. So if it was processed incorrectly or some of your jars didn't seal, you may do everything absolutely right, follow all the steps, all the instructions, and something still may not seal. That's just how it works. Any type of cooking, baking, food preservation, all of those things, stuff can still go wrong. You can still have problems. So what do you do if that happens? You can refrigerate those items, refrigerate the contents, use it within 3 to 4 days. You can freeze it. So you're going to adjust the headspace to allow for that food to expand, because when it freezes, it's going to expand. We don't want our jars to break. Or we can transfer that food into a freezer appropriate container and stick it in the freezer to keep it. Or we can reprocess, and that means we use the same jar, check the sealing surface and the headspace, or transfer the product to a clean hot jar with a new lid. And then we reprocess it for the full recommended time. So we're going to process it for the full processing time, even if we're processing it again. So those are some of the ways that we can, if they didn't seal, that we can troubleshoot that and fix it and not have to lose all of that food and those items. It's also important to recognize what the signs of spoilage are. When you go to pull those jars out in a year, because we want to use them, What are some of the things that are going to tell us, hey, this is not okay? Maybe someone has gifted something to us. What a beautiful, wonderful gift to share homemade preserves or home canned vegetables and items that we can take and use. How do we make sure that it's safe? So those obvious signs of spoilage are going to be things like the lid's bulging. The lid's not sealed. When you go, it doesn't pop when you go to unseal it. The liquid in it has gotten cloudy. Maybe there's a strange odor when you open it. And if it doesn't smell right, you probably don't want to eat it. If the food is really mushy, the texture, sometimes this can happen just because the texture's off. Sometimes it's a direct reaction to those enzymes and those microorganisms that we don't want. So, and then of course, if there's mold on any of it, it has to go. That's all there is to it. If you question it, don't eat it. Okay, throw it out. Never taste or serve anything that you're like, yeah, it might be okay. Because if it's not, food poisoning in itself can be very, very dangerous. Okay, so we don't want to do that. Then we need to dispose of it safely. If we think it's not good and we want to get rid of it, that inclination just to pitch the whole thing in the trash. We don't want to do that. So if it's an acid canned food, we can put it down the garbage disposal with a large amount of water. Okay, put it that way. We can just flush the liquid portion really well through the sink and take the solid pieces, wrap it in either newspaper or plastic, and discard it in the trash. Now, if it's a low acid canned food, again, these can be very dangerous if we've had some type of toxicity added to that. If it's still sealed, but you know you're not going to use it or eat it and you don't want to open it, you can write on there, hey, this is poison, do not eat it, this is dangerous. And then you can just go ahead and dispose of it like you would other things. You're going to put it in a heavyweight garbage bag, make sure it gets to the dumpster, to the landfill, wherever that needs to go. So it's important to make sure that those toxins are contained and not just pitched out there to the world. Because again, these are bacteria and things that can be very dangerous. Why it is so important to understand the processing and follow those tested recipes and processing times and all of the things that go along with it to ensure that that food is safe. There are some methods out there that are not safe that we do see promoted, or we hear people talk about, oh, I tried this and it's so wonderful. If it's processed for less time than is recommended, if you're not using the right equipment and the approved equipment, then it's probably not going to be good. Or if you don't use it appropriately and properly, it's not going to be, and I'm not just talking about the quality of it, I'm talking about the safety of it and being able to consume those products. If the recipe was from an unapproved source or an original recipe that you made up yourself just to see, hey, I think this will work, that can be unsafe. And so, or if all the necessary ingredients were not added, you know, I don't really like vinegar, so I'm not going to put vinegar in here. Well, there's your acidity that you need to make sure this is a safe product. So you have to use the tested recipes in its entirety with the appropriate amounts. Some things will have bits and pieces of things that are optional, but you don't see that a lot in your food preservation recipes. So some of the things that you're going to see out there that people are like, oh, well, you can just use your microwave. You can just use your slow cooker crock pot. Oh, I learned to do this in the dishwasher. Those are not approved scientific-based methods for safe home canning. Okay, and along with that, using a kettle, just using the oven, some other just steam processing by itself without the boiling water or the pressure, that's not going to work. So, and then also we talked a little bit when we talked about jars, about some of those containers. So your jars that have an unusual shape and like, oh, this is so pretty. Wouldn't this look great with jam in it? Well, yeah, it'd be really pretty, but it would not be safe. We need to use those approved canning mason jars with the correct vacuum seal lids. So not the ones with some type of a glass cap that has like the wire bales that flop them over to seal them down on the top, or lids that are like the one-piece lid that have a zinc lining, again, that maybe you saved off your jelly jar that you got from the grocery store. Those are not going to be appropriate and are not going to be safe in your food preservation. Again, here's another example, and you can see this one actually has an optional salt. because it is fresh green beans. So these would be done in the pressure canner. So you can look at that and just kind of get an idea. And it does have your recommended pressure. It has your recommended processing time and that you need to adjust for your altitude and your elevation, which we've already talked about. So you know exactly what that means when they say that. So we have looked at a lot of different options for the basis of home food preservation and understanding canning. Again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. I am encouraging you to do more research, find those good, reliable sources to learn more about home canning and food preservation, but now you have a base knowledge to build on. Thank you for being part of our Canning Basics series.